first of all, they're thinking of their life usually in terms of this is the way it is, right? It's not a function of how they see it, they're just innocently looking at it, and they're just seeing it the way that it is. And when I jump in there, right, what do I have to do in order to see the box the way they do? Well, I have to get how they're seeing. In order to get how they're seeing, right, I need to start to be able to go, well, what would have them see it this way? Well, the deeper I go down here, right, the more I'm going to be able to really get their world with them and see it exactly the way they do. And actually, because I'm not as familiar with it, I can see it more clearly. I can smell the smells more clearly because I'm not used to it. So I can actually articulate it and bring it into a language that they could never do because they are it, right? It's their own eyeball. This is that experience, like we're within comedians, that comic relief. Perhaps this is the release of their looking, of the lines that they've created that they've called themselves. If I can go back there, or you can with me, and go back there and smell that smell I'm no longer smelling, see that thing I'm no longer seeing, and be able to go, oh, so it's got to be, oh, so this means this is, oh, this is at stake for you. That makes total sense. And they're like, oh, I don't know how many times I've heard that, like, I could have never put it like that, but that is like exactly the way it is. Now, oftentimes, this is what's interesting, is what I've gotten their prison cell, right? I've gotten and spoke to them in a more articulate way, right? Not because I'm necessarily smarter than them, just because it's unfamiliar to me, so I'm not used to it, so I can actually see it better. So I speak it more clearly to them, and it becomes more, it goes from here to here. Now, what they're seeing, what I'm describing is, in full detail, is the contours of their prison. What's relieving about seeing that you've been in prison? What is that? What is that? Why is that a relief? That I get to describe for you the prison that you have built, right? And put yourself inside of. And have been complaining about. And I describe it in full detail in a way that you could never, because you didn't even realize you were in prison, and I just show it to you, and you feel ecstatically, oh, that's kind of a funny thing, isn't it? You've been in prison all your life. Why is that relieving? Think about that for a second. I think it may have something to do with they don't see their way of being, they see with their way of being. Because their way of being is like their eyeball. And if I took the lens out of the eyeball and showed it to them, they're no longer it. So in that moment, it goes from context to content. It's an implicit release of the lines that they've been looking inside of. And they see the lines themselves. And in that moment, they've been released from prison. And we've been released together from prison. And then really, I love that moment being with people. I love that happening. There's just something about that that's just so nourishing. And I also think it may point to, right, why is it so important that we feel seen? I mean, we get so hurt when we don't feel seen. In fact, you could say that our deepest wounds are about not being seen. Why is that? Well, I don't know for sure, right? But my guess is like, if you think about it like this, if you were born, and say, Say a baby, you could, you know, walk and take care of yourself. Imagine that. You were born, and then we immediately put you on an island, and then left, and you weren't around anybody. You're totally alone on the island, and you could take care of yourselves. Just imagine all that. And we came back, and let's imagine you could talk, though, okay? And we came back, and we say, so, how are you? What would they say? You? What's a you? How come they wouldn't know what a you is? Think about that. How come they wouldn't know what an I is? They may not even know what an it is. They definitely wouldn't know what a they is. Where does that come from? Light. If we imagine, right? I think we can pretty much safely say that as babies, all we are is undifferentiated awareness, right? All we are is undifferentiated awareness going out. So I don't have any conception when I pop out, right? I have no distinctions. I don't have language. So I don't, all I am is awareness and undifferentiated, right? There's no me, you, up, down, right, and wrong. All that stuff is inferred and learned through language, right? And inherited. All this stuff is inherited, right? But you could say that I'm just light going out. Now, when you look up at the moon, what are you seeing? Are you seeing the moon? Really think about it. Are you really seeing the moon? No, you're not. If you want to be technical about it, no. You're seeing the light reflected off the moon. You're not seeing the moon. You're seeing the light reflected off the moon. When there's no light there and the moon's there, are you seeing it? No. Now, if the moon's not there, but the light's there, can you see the light? No. It's arguable whether or not the light's still there. But one thing is, we could for sure it doesn't occur for us. It's not in our world. We don't see it. So I don't know how you define there, but I don't know of any other being that thinks in terms of that's and theirs, other than human beings. So I don't know if you could really say that it's there, right? It's arguable. That's kind of the mystery that we won't solve tonight, and I hope we never solve. So really, if we imagine awareness is light, where do we get our sense of self from? Exactly. Boop, 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 boop. How I'm seeing.